And for the first time in 7 rounds of the Australian Touring Car Championship is George Fury in his turbo Nissan. Yesterday, in failing light, Fury recorded a time of 1:15.2, 2.2 seconds under the existing lap record. Beside him is Allan Moffat in the Mazda RX-7. Moffat with a time of 1:15.7, and it is only the second time in the Touring Car Championship that these two cars will drag from the front row of the grid. On third position on the second row, Peter Brock in the Holden Commodore. Brock did his 1:16.1 in the first session of practice yesterday. Beside him, Alan Grice in the second Commodore, a 1:16.4, and Grice is so annoyed that the second session of practice yesterday was held short. Then comes the cat amongst the pigeons. Local driver Terry Shield in a Mazda, having his first drive in an Australian Touring Car Championship, a 1:16.7. The first Ford, Dick Johnson, the current Australian Touring Car Champion, battling with a poorly handling Ford Falcon, 1:17.1, still underneath his lap record. 32 laps of the Oran Park Grand Prix circuit, 83.84 kilometres, and the largest crowd we've seen at Oran Park in years, probably since the clash in the Australian Touring Car Championship in 1972 between Allan Moffat and Bob Jane. The flag is out. George Fury has altered his suspension just for the start, and he dumps it. George Fury blows the start, and Allan Moffat takes it away. Peter Brock on the outside.
They're using the Grand Prix course, so the cars go down beyond the shortened section of the track. Moffat slips through into second place, Grice to third, Fury, then Johnson, Peter McLeod also doing well, and we can see there Greg Hansen moving up through the field in car number 31. Under the bridge, and it's Brock, Moffat, Grice, then Fury, Jones alongside Dick Johnson, Peter McLeod and Steve Harrington also moving up there through the right-hander.
Brock, as he's done in the last 2 rounds of the Australian Touring Car Championship, taking the lead and then trying to extend his lead right from the start. Oh, and Johnson hits the fence. The poorly handling Ford Falcon, and Dick Johnson, the reigning Australian Touring Car Champion, hasn't even done 1 lap. Here it comes again. Just lets it go too wide, and he will have, and bounces in on the front wheel as well, and then runs along the fence on his front wheel, and that has cost Dick Johnson serious suspension damage, and he'll be out of the event. Allan Moffat in second position, Alan Grice in third, George Fury.
Moffat closes under brakes as they come through BP corner, and up at the end of lap number 1 out of a total of 32 on the Grand Prix course. Those two drivers having opened up quite a gap now over Alan Grice in the second of the Commodores. Look at Moffat under brakes in a car that weighs some 1,000 odd kilograms. The lightest touring car in the race, has a dab at the brakes once again as he goes through the left-hander and tucks right in behind Peter Brock.
Barry Jones in the red Mazda out wide as he chases George Fury.
Brock, who got away to a terrible start in the Touring Car Championship. The car had gearbox problems at Calder. Ran second in an ill-handling car at Sandown. Didn't finish at Symonds Plains. And then he started to come good. He was flying at Wanneroo when he backed off the circuit into the sand. Did so well at Adelaide to hold out Allan Moffat.
A 1:21.6 opening lap. That's only 4 seconds under the outright lap record. Or over the outright lap record, rather. And now as Allan Moffat moves up onto the tail of Peter Brock, and Brock using all the track and then some. The point score situation in the Australian Touring Car Championship has ceased to be theoretical. Allan Moffat needs to win this race. A 1:16.09 for Brock. That is 1.2 seconds, 1.3 seconds under the lap record of Dick Johnson, and it's been done on full tanks.
These two drivers were locked in battle here last year at the round of the Touring Car Championship, which at that time was round 4 in March, in a race where conditions were continually changing with rain falling on the circuit, and the two of them had a real sparring duel, knocking a few panels in and a few corners of the car. And it was Moffat, in fact, who jumped the start and was penalised a minute after crossing the line first. Peter Brock being the eventual winner. And it's Moffat now who's giving Peter Brock a real headache.
Moffat not being gentle on his car either. Johnson is crawling back to the pits, we learn, coming up to the pit road now, but he's obviously out of the event. There he is there as Brock and Moffat charge past. Oh,
Stephen
car
Harrington.
for Stephen Harrington. He's got a flat tyre and he's going to try and limp to the pits with the flat tyre. He's got half the Grand Prix circuit yet to go. 1:16.7 on lap 3 to Peter Brock. He's still under Dick Johnson's lap record. And that will be the pace of the race. Barry Jones desperate to get through George Fury in 4th position. That's Alan Grice, George Fury and Barry Jones right behind him. Then comes Peter McLeod in the Slick 50, running on number 59, Mazda RX-7.
Moffat again using all of the track and getting up on the rip restriction, tossing the Mazda around behind Brock's Commodore. 5-speed gearbox in the Mazda, 4-speed in the Commodore. BP corner and under brakes. Big plunge down there and a little hard to see just how tough it is to come out of that corner as they drift the cars out wide. There's Grice now with plenty of pressure from Fury, Jones, Peter McLeod in the Slick 50 Mazda. Johnson has restarted his XE Falcon and is now crawling along the main straight. How disappointing for Dick, man who really didn't want to come to Oran Park anyway. Very disappointing the way that the car's handling. Tried so many different suspension settings. It's Fury now who's got plenty of pressure from Jones, who seems to be getting through this part of the course very well. He ducks and he weaves and he looks for a way through. Of course, Jones was the man who partnered Alan Jones in last year's CRC 300. The only occasion that Alan Jones has really come to the fore in Australian touring car racing since his return from Formula One.
And the gap back between these two, Peter Brock and Allan Moffat, back to Alan Grice, is 3.57 seconds.
Moffat getting all over Brock once again, gets right out onto the concrete on that occasion. It's a classic confrontation between the two drivers that have kept Australian touring car racing alive for some 10 years in Australia. Both of them with overseas experience. Brock has raced at Spa in a Vauxhall Magnum. Moffat, of course, has been to Daytona, to Sebring, to Le Mans. Brock's been there as well on 2 occasions, once in a BMW, once in a Porsche for Alan Hamilton.